Hey everyone, and welcome back to Fan Talk. This is a podcast by me, Kyle Brenchley, part of K-Brench Sports. Happy holidays. Well, happy holidays in the past. Last time I came on here, had an episode. It was about a month ago, mid-December, and I know I promised another episode, but things kind of got crazy with finals. I'm still a student in school. And then with the holidays, you never know what you're going to get with the holidays. You know, Christmas vacation is a whole nother animal to tackle. I went on vacation, and I figured it's the holidays. You know, we can take a break. We don't need to work during the holidays, right? So we took a little time off there, but I am back. So welcome back to Fan Talk here. It's a podcast created by me, Kyle Brenchley, like I mentioned. You can listen to me on Spotify, iHeartRadio, and Spotify. You can also find me on YouTube by searching Kyle Brenchley. Fan Talk. I also obviously video record every single episode. So if you want to see what I'm wearing, then go on over to YouTube and check it out. But you can find me there, Kyle Brenchley Fan Talk. A lot has happened this month, in the last month, with sports as it does. I mean, you take a month off, and holy cow, so much has changed. I kind of fell behind on my NFL predictions. I was doing decent. But I'll do a little predictions here in the playoffs because the NFL playoffs are coming up. The first game is set to kick off tomorrow. Seattle and San Francisco. We'll talk about that a little later. We'll talk about college football. Obviously, that season just wrapped up. Men's college basketballs. Things are heating up. We're getting close to March, and we all love March Madness. NBA, NFL, MLB offseason, all that wonderful stuff. We'll jump into it, but we'll be brief. If you're new here to Fan Talk, what this is, I'm just a guy who likes sports, and I sit on my couch and I watch, and this is what I see, and this is what I talk about. Kind of a unique perspective. I think a lot of the shows we see out there are people who have been in the sports journalism field or have been former players, so they provide their unique perspective. My unique perspective is probably similar to your perspective, just as a avid fan of sports, watching and following the game and all the seasons throughout the year. So that's what I'll provide for you. And we'll just have a good time here. So I appreciate you listening. And let's get through this January. January is a good time. It's a good time. It's cold, but it's a good time. All right, no more chit-chat. Let's jump right in. I want to mention college football playoff. I'll start with that. We had, in the national championship game, we had Georgia and TCU. I don't think anyone predicted TCU to get there in the first place, so they were riding their Cinderella run all season. They won the Big 12. They got that final spot in there, and they upsetted Michigan in a crazy game. I was watching that game from a restaurant I was actually in Alabama, Fairhope, Alabama, and I was watching that game. And it seemed like a lot of people were rooting for TCU. I don't know if that's just because people don't like Michigan, or if a lot of people from Texas were vacationing in Alabama. I don't know what it is. Maybe just an underdog thing. But surprise win there. TCU wins. But I think the more exciting game was definitely Georgia-Ohio State. Kirby Smart with that good timeout there at the end to ice the kicker and to send the Bulldogs, pretty much through to the championship and to win. I think that timeout, probably saved their season, really. Because that Ohio State kicker just shanked it, and I think it was in his head. And that was an exciting game, too. I think a lot of people were rooting for Georgia down there just because Georgia's close. But the national championship game did not quite meet your standards unless you're a Georgia Bulldogs fan. I mean, shout out to Brett Hammer. He's the biggest Georgia Bulldogs fan I know. He's a friend of mine. He's got a podcast himself. It's called Trophy Room Radio. Go check it out. Really good. I've been on his show, and I'm looking to bring him on this show as well. But Bulldogs smacked them. I think it was the biggest margin of defeat in the college football era for sure, but in any football championship era for sure. TCU was just way in over their heads, and so that sparks a debate about the current state of the college football playoff. They're looking to add more teams. What's it going to look like moving forward? We don't know. But we'll keep an eye on that as we do that and as we, live and learn. So Georgia Bulldogs, your 2023 national champions for college football. Okay, jumping to college basketball. I haven't talked about college basketball yet on the show, so I want to mention a few things. I find it interesting that in the top 25, if you go to ESPN and you look at the AP top 25, University of Kentucky, Villanova, and North Carolina are nowhere to be found on the top 25. And in the last couple years, when I say couple years, I mean, the last, 20 years or so, those teams have kind of been the powerhouses of college basketball. I think we're kind of seeing a shift here. Kansas is still up there. We're kind of seeing a shift here. We got Houston, we got Alabama, we got Purdue. We got these programs that have kind of sneakily made their way up into elite basketball status, and they're up there. I mean, Gonzaga's in the mix, UConn, teams like that have been in and out throughout the years. So kind of an interesting basketball situation right now in college. Check that out. If you go to the ESPN website, I like looking at the bracketology section where Joe Lunardi is kind of keeping track of the current playoff format for March Madness, the tournament, and you can see who's the last four in, the first four in, and all that, and it updates it pretty frequently. Obviously, there's games that happen all the time, so go check that out. Play around with that. I like doing that. It's kind of fun. NBA. I'll only mention this in the NBA. The All-Star Weekend's coming up in about a month. The game will be in Salt Lake City, Utah. That will be real fun to see. So keep an eye out for All-Star voting as that approaches. And it'll be a fun time there. NBA seasons, we're in full swing. We got a couple more months till the playoffs. Teams are fighting hard and playing good. I haven't been able to watch too much NBA. I usually don't start watching NBA until about after football ends. So about February, that's when things kind of start heating up for both NBA and college basketball. Football is kind of just king here in America. So let's jump into football. Let's talk about the playoffs. I'll tell you now who's in. You probably already know, but let's just review. Who's in from the NFC? Who's in from the AFC? So let's start with the NFC. So obviously, the number one seed, the Philadelphia Eagles, they held on. They kind of slipped there a little bit at the end. Jalen Hurts was injured for a little bit, but they held on. So they get a first-round bye. They can sit around this weekend and scout, watch every game, and see who they're going to get. They will play the lowest remaining seed left. So that just depends on these wild card games. So, the 2 seed, we got San Francisco, 3 seed Minnesota, 4 seed Tampa Bay. Dallas got in at 5, Giants at 6, and Seattle sneaked in at 7. That Sunday night game between the Packers and the Lions, all the Packers had to do was win, and the Lions were like, ain't no way, like we're out of the playoffs, but we're gonna win this game and say, to the Green Bay fans, So because Detroit won, Seattle got in. Okay, so the first game is going to be played tomorrow, 2:30 p.m. Mountain Standard Time on Fox. Seattle versus San Francisco. San Francisco's playing really well right now. I just like what they're doing. I like their offense. I like their defense. They're at home. Brock Purdy's playing amazing. I don't know if anyone ever saw this coming, Mr. Irrelevant. Seattle, Geno Smith having a historical career. Might I say, he's basically done everything Russell Wilson's done and then did it better. He set the single season record for Seattle quarterback in passing yards and beat Russell Wilson, which is kind of crazy if you think about it. All the years Russell Wilson was there, and then Geno Smith steps in and just breaks that record. Kind of crazy. I like Geno Smith. I like what he's doing with Seattle. I just think San Francisco is the better team. They're at home, and they're going to win that game. That'll be a fun game to watch tomorrow, again, 2:30 Mountain Standard Time on Fox. This next game, I'm real excited for. So it's going to be a night game, 6:15 on NBC. The LA Chargers are going to Jacksonville to play the Jacksonville Jaguars. And Jacksonville Jaguars, since the Broncos were nowhere close to the playoffs this year, that's the team I'm rooting for in the AFC. I'm rooting for the Jacksonville Jags. They played that winner-go-home game against the Titans in Week 18, and they got it done. I think their defense has stepped up very well. I think Trevor Lawrence has made huge strides since last season. He's not the same, player. First playoff game for both Justin Herbert and Trevor Lawrence. It will be super excited to see how they go. I think the Chargers are a really good offensive team. I think Justin Herbert is top 5 quarterback in the league right now. I think he's really good. I know he's really good. Jacksonville at home. I think the Chargers win this one. I'm rooting for the Jags. I really hope the Jags pull this out. But I think the Chargers win this one in a shootout, and Justin Herbert gets his first playoff win as a quarterback here in the NFL. Now, this next game has potential to be a doozy, meaning that it might put you to sleep. It's the Miami Dolphins of the 7 seed playing number 2 Buffalo. So AFC playoff picture, I'll mention that briefly. So number 1 seed Kansas City Chiefs, how'd they get that again? Gosh darn. So they have a playoff bye, a first round bye. Buffalo's the 2 seed, 3 seed is Cincinnati, 4 seed Jacksonville, 5 seed LA Chargers, 6 seed Baltimore, 7 seed Dolphins. So the Dolphins got in there, and I don't think they belong there. Tua's out. Teddy Bridgewater still has that fractured pinky. I think he's going to try to be the backup, but the Dolphins are going to start Skylar Thompson. And the only start he's had was last week against the Jets in arguably the ugliest NFL game of the 2022 season. And I'm a Broncos fan, and I watched a lot of ugly football, and I think that game was uglier than any game the Broncos played all year. So it's going to be a doozy for Miami fans. Don't count them out, but Buffalo at home, they're going to be inspired. As you all have probably heard, the Damar Hamlin situation. Glad that he's up and that he's recovered. They're still recovering, but positive signs for him moving forward. There's still thoughts and prayers to him and his family as he recovers from such a shocking event. It was crazy. I didn't see the actual hit live, but like the game obviously was postponed, and I was like, whoa, what's going on? And like the players are gathered on the field. Craziest thing I've probably ever seen on live TV. But glad that he's been recovering and showing positive signs. So they're going to be playing for him. They're going to be playing. They want that number 1 seed. They really do. They want Kansas City's Chiefs head. They want to be in the Super Bowl. Give me Buffalo over Miami. And then the next game that day, we got the Giants at Minnesota. A lot of people are picking the Giants over Minnesota. They did play earlier in the year. I just like Minnesota to win this one. They're at home. I like what I've seen. I think Minnesota has come too far to lose in the first round, so give me Minnesota over the Giants. Cool to see the Giants in there, though. Last season they were kind of a dud of a team, and now look where they are. It just shows that in one season you can really turn it around. We see that with Jacksonville. We see that with the Giants, both of them here in the playoffs right now. Next wild card playoff game, Cincinnati and Baltimore. This game's in Cincinnati. Biggest news for Baltimore, Lamar Jackson is out. He will not be playing in this game. So they have to decide, do we put in hurt backup Tyler Huntley, or do we start third stringer undrafted rookie Anthony Brown? Neither have played superbly well. Baltimore's going to really have to rely on their defense if they want a chance in this game. But I like Cincinnati. Houday at home. Joe Burrow, he's thinking they could go back to the Super Bowl for the second straight year and this time win it. And then the last wild card playoff game, you got Tampa Bay, who snuck in the horrible NFC South. All had losing records. They beat Carolina, so they got in. They'll be at home hosting the Dallas Cowboys, 6:15. That game's actually on ABC Sunday night. Kind of cool. Little ABC action there for you. Tampa Bay and Dallas. Ooh, this one's tough because I'll be completely honest. I think the Dallas Cowboys, I think they're frauds. It's incredible. Like, their record is way better than their team should be. I mean, their defense is elite. Don't get me wrong. I think their defense is top 3. You can't deny that. But I'm just not really sold on Dak Prescott. They've kind of struggled. They really had their opportunities to overtake the NFC East, but failed to do so. They got blown out by Washington, 26-6, and they were playing their starters. Washington had nothing to play for but pride. I don't know. Tampa Bay is not really great either. Tom Brady is maybe on his last ride here in Tampa. I'm going to say Tampa Bay over the Cowboys. They win this one. They beat the Cowboys on the opening game anyways. So give me Tampa Bay to win that one. It's going to be an exciting week, wild card weekend. I really want to see how Jacksonville and how the Chargers play. Both teams haven't been to the playoffs in multiple years. That will be fun to see. It'll be fun to watch Buffalo. It'll be fun to watch San Francisco. It'll be fun to watch Cincinnati. I'm just really excited to get this playoff stretch going and work our way to the Super Bowl. We're about a month out. So yeah, February 12th is when the Super Bowl will be played there in Glendale, Arizona. So it will be fun. All right, guys, that was just a quick reback, just to jump right back in and to get back in the mood of things. Again, I apologize for being gone for a month. I just thought it'd be a good idea to take a break during the holidays. Again, I'll be posting weekly here on Spotify, iHeartRadio, and YouTube. Search Fan Talk by Kyle Brenchley. And I appreciate if you give me a like or leave a comment or share with your friends or whatever. And if you guys want to be guests on the show, I'd love to bring people on. So just let me know about that as well. All right, guys. So have a great weekend. Let's watch some football this weekend. Let's have some fun. And happy Martin Luther King Day. It's always good to remember the past and to honor the past so we can change the present and prepare for the future. All right, guys. We'll see you later. Thank you for listening.